Cheryl Chumley is online opinion editor for the Washington Times. She's also author of The Devil in D.C., Winning Back the Country from the Beast in Washington, and one that I would caution you for reading at night, but any other time would be great, called Police State USA, How Orwell's Nightmare is Becoming Our Reality, simply because I'm sure she's done a good job on that one, and it would probably scare the heck out of you. Cheryl is a podcast host of Bold and Blunt, and credits include Hannity and Media Buzz, America Right Now, Saturday Agenda, and so much more. And we welcome her to the program. Good morning, ma'am, to Cheryl Chumley. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I've got some sound bites I want to play too, but this thing has resonated, and we're talking about the Virginia election, to the point where they are grasping almost like shooting ducks at dark. They don't know who to blame, what to do. But your thoughts of how consequential this election was yesterday in Virginia?
Well, I'm in Virginia, so I experienced this whole campaign rhetoric and the election firsthand. And I can tell you, I spent a lot of time watching the mainstream and left-leaning media, both during the campaign and after the fallout. And they're painting it as basically racism, that if you voted for Republicans in this particular race, that you are automatically racist. And they are conveniently dismissing Winsome Sears, a Black former Marine who just made history by becoming the first Black female lieutenant governor in the state. And this is just the leftist way of denying reality, the fact that they're the failure and they're trying to blame it on something else.
I don't think most of America knew much about this lady, but if you'll allow me, here's a little bit of what we were talking about, the new lieutenant governor-elect in Virginia, Winsome Sears.
All right, settle down, settle down. I am at a loss for words for the first time in my life. Marine Corps, motivated, dedicated. So I'm here because of you. I'm here because you voted for me. I'm here because you put your trust in me. That's the only reason I'm here.
And then she introduces her two daughters, but her husband, who is also a fellow Marine. So what an incredible victory in Virginia.
It is. And I can tell you a little bit about Winsome Sears because I've not only met her, but I've interviewed her on my Bold and Blunt podcast I do at the Washington Times. And she is the epitome of humble service. She is faith-based, conservative, cares about limited government concepts, and cares about the direction of this country. And she's a fighter. So she is definitely going to be an asset to the Republican Party in politics.
Now, she came from Jamaica, actually, when she was a little bit older, too, did she not?
That I don't know. That didn't come up in our conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, she mentions this on the other part of that. Let me see.
Thank you. Want to introduce to you my husband, Terrence. He's another Marine. My daughter, Katja, and my other daughter, Janelle. I'm telling you that what you are looking at is the American dream. When my father came to this country, August 11th of 1963, he came at the height of the civil rights movement from Jamaica. And he only came with $1.75. Took any job he could find, and he put himself through school and started his American dream. And so let me tell you this. I am not even first-generation American. When I joined the Marine Corps, I was still a Jamaican, but this country had done so much for me. I was willing to die for this country. USA!
There you go. Cheryl, she's most impressive, is she not?
Oh, she definitely is. And, you know, it's really impressive whenever you have a politician who will stand for principles, not just for whatever bullet point the party puts out at that moment in time.
I think everybody was a little amazed that he closed out the campaign the night before the election talking about we had too many white teachers and we needed more black teachers. And there were a lot of people, and I'm sure some people on his side just kind of scratched their head and wondered what the heck was he talking about and why would he do that?
Yeah, and, you know, to Glenn Youngkin's excellently run campaign is the fact that he allowed Terry McAuliffe to just step in it constantly. And Youngkin did not go on the attack. He didn't go, gutter politics or anything like that. He simply stated his vision for Virginia, and he addressed the issues that were of top concern to Virginians, which among included schools, parental rights versus government overreach, critical race theory. And Terry McAuliffe, to his shame, to his failure, as we see, just dismissed those concerns. He mocked them. He even denied the existence of critical race theory. Yeah. And the very last, he just constantly stepped on his own heels. And in so doing, that's why he lost. He was his own worst enemy.
I want you to hear this one, because not only the politicians in D.C. and, of course, in Virginia, but also the news media. This is Joy Behar. They're at their wits' end to explain this.
I think Biden's troubles are big.
Here he goes.
Because the Democrats failed to deliver. I have to say it. They haven't delivered on the Build Back Better plan because it's being held up on the left by certain people and on the right by some people. Mm-hmm. And until that happens, 50 points were won because white women in the suburbs who did not have college education voted for Republican. Those women.
So she says, because white women, an amazing number of white women without college educations in the suburbs were stupid enough, she didn't say stupid enough, but that's the inference, to vote for Youngkin. It is, and first of all, even Van Jones came on a little bit later on and said this is a dog whistle as far as critical race theory is concerned.
Yeah, especially Joy Behar's comments. This goes to the heart of the differences between the Republican and Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. Democrats can never envision anything without a government solution. They cannot grasp the idea of individuals taking care of themselves and families. They always think that government must be included in the equation. And Republicans are the party where we still have a lot of individualism, where it comes from bootstrap type, bringing yourself up, where it's individual cases of success, overcoming adversity. And Democrats cannot envision that without government having some sort of control.
I want you to hear in our next segment, I want you to hear Joy Reid, what she says. Let you analyze it, because what Joy Reid says is about as racist as you could possibly get. We'll talk more with Cheryl Chumley, again, online opinion editor with the Washington Times, and also host of Bold and Blunt National Podcast, which you've got to check out. More coming up with Cheryl right after this. Cheryl is back with us, Cheryl Chumley, and did you hear that cut from Leo Terrell and also Janelle King?
I did hear it, yes.
I've said this often, that because you said it yourself, you said the whole thing was built around race. They had no ideas. The entire concept of what they needed to win was to stir up the animosity between the races. And I don't know if you've ever thought about this, because, I mean, you said it too, and most people are saying this, that they're going to bring that out. And I think he reinforced that the night before the election by coming on and saying, look, we got too many white teachers. We need more black teachers. I'm going to do this, and here's the bonus I'm going to give them. So he didn't say what he was going to do to the with the white teachers who were good and in the school system. Did that resonate with the people in Virginia the last minute? Were they able to take that and say, all right, this is the straw that broke the back finally?
I actually think the straw had been broken before, and that was just further evidence of the hopelessness of having Terry McAuliffe as a governor who could lead all of Virginia and not just a select few. If you remember, it was just a few days prior that the Lincoln Project got busted for basically sending out those minions to pretend as if they were white supremacists affiliated with the Glenn Youngkin campaign. And people watched that with anger. But really the thing that really drove the vote here in Virginia was that in Loudoun County and in Fairfax County, you had a concerted conservative effort to push back on the school boards there that had overreached their rightful roles and actually told parents that you don't have a right to tell the schools how your children should be taught. And Terry McAuliffe just picked that up and ran with it, much to his dismay and failure.
I said earlier this morning, Cheryl, that because you hear people like Joy Behar, almost everybody out there, as far as the Democrats are concerned, this is the canary in the coal mine and all of this, and we've got to change our ways, and they've got to do this and that. Do you think they're capable of doing that? Certainly not before the midterms get underway. But do you think this party is capable to stop the progressive left movement, to ignore the odd squad, and to move back toward the center, or at least a little bit more moderate? Do you think you think at this stage of the life of the Democrat Party that is even possible?
I certainly think that the Democrat Party is capable, but they don't have the will to do it. If you go back in time just a couple of years, you had the DNC chief, Tom Perez, making it clear that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was the future of the party. And any idea that perhaps that statement would have been watered down over the years is completely untrue, because you see that the squad on Capitol Hill is the loudest voice in the Democrat Party. You see that Nancy Pelosi cannot really control them. And you see from just the media pundits that are sent out by the Democrat Party that they have no real will to change. They are angry at the rest of America for not coming in line with their radical views. And it just emboldens them when they see something like Virginia to just try harder, to just clamp down harder. And to the progressives, to the socialists in the Democrat Party, Americans by and large are stupid for not seeing their viewpoints. Yeah. And they are just, determined to prove that.
I agree with it, because Terry McAuliffe has been on our spotlight for a long time. He did some economic deals in the state of Mississippi that were failures and almost close to a scam with the Chinese vehicles back in Tunica many, many years ago with Governor Barber. But he's one of those hangovers from the Clinton administration that's just been a bad penny for a long time. And I know a lot of people in Virginia are glad to see him out of office when this comes around. Joy Reid said this, and the reason I want to play this is real short, but it's just disheartening to hear someone be so much of a racist to proselytize against racism.
The Republican Party, they do not believe that non-white voters have the right to choose the president of the United States or any other officer. I don't see any other way around it.
That's it. She and I think she really believes that. She says that all Republicans, and she's casting a wide net over African Americans who are with the Republican Party and other free-thinking people, that if you're a Republican, you just want to do everything you can to stop blacks from voting. And I think that racism is gone.
Yeah, I find her very racist, and there are plenty on the left and plenty in the black community who would condemn me for saying that because they insist that only white people can be racist. But I find that to be
Yeah.
untrue. And look, there are certain elements on the left that you're never going to change their viewpoints. So you can't argue your way out of proving yourself not to be a racist. You
Yeah.
can't convince, you can't persuade. So some people, you just have to let them go. They're the hopeless on the left.
Yeah, but the problem with that is she retains a powerful position with a network microphone and camera, and it's a little disheartening to know that there are people who would keep her employed as much damage as she's doing. You know, Cheryl, I mentioned this many times before, but to me, I kind of figured out CRT. And that critical race theory to me is because we as baby boomers, and I've said this before, we as baby boomers are fading away. I mean, we'll be gone from out of the political system as the years go on. And things have changed since the early days of civil rights when we were kids. The different water fountains, the different restaurants, you couldn't ride on the white buses. We had schools that were separated. All of these things were in our memory. That's part of our childhood. That will be gone. There are new generations out there that don't see that. They cannot relate with that other than stories from their grandparents. So how do you keep that racism alive? And the Democrats know that that's their power base, and that's what CRT is. Let's get out there and teach racism. We've got to keep it alive if the Democrat Party wants to remain in power. I think it's that simple to me. I don't know if it is to other people. Your thoughts?
Well, divide and conquer is basically the way of Marxists. And if you go back in time to Barack Obama, he was very talented at dividing the country so that Democrats could then come in and play the savior to all the little factions that they created. And racism has proven very powerful for the left in exploiting. And so I do agree with you that historically speaking, that's how this moves forward so quickly. But it's definitely a strategy of the left to keep it going.
One more sound.
Democrat Terry McAuliffe is struggling in a state that you won by 10 points. Do you see his problems as a rebuke of your presidency? And could this signal your real losses for Democrats in the midterms?
We're going to win. I think we're going to win in Virginia. I think we're going to win New Jersey as well.
You see, what happens in Virginia will in large part determine what happens in 2022, 2024, and on.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna win.
This is the announcement that Joe Biden will not be happy to hear.
Joe Biden isn't happy to hear because he and other very high-profile Democrats went to try to help Terry McAuliffe.
We don't have time to be wasting on these phony, trumped-up culture wars. Instead of stoking anger aimed at school boards and administrators who are just trying to keep our kids safe, who are just doing their jobs.
We're going to win.
When you start calling the parents' concerns over the rape in that bathroom phony, that hurts, and I don't think the sting goes away. Cheryl, thank you for spending some time with us. I appreciate it very much, and congratulations to the people in Virginia. My understanding now that is the House of Delegates, is it red now or will be red?
Yes, it is. It is. It is
We
red
chalked
now.
this up, and your dress indicates that to me. Let's just put it this way. This is another in a long line of failures from Joe Biden, and it's not going to change. Cheryl, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it very much.